So we're looking for the Bingley from the Bingley story. We know Terry went up there once with us with June, and I don't know, was the bishop there that day?
Yeah.
So Curtis the bishop, he was there with us, but that same area. So me and Mel, we drive our four-wheelers down there to just above the Bingley camp. That Bingley couldn't even find himself when he went up there. When he went up there later after the Indian boundary had been moved, he says, if I could find the Bingley camp, I could find my gold. I could find where that gold is, but I got to find the camp. Well, my son worked as forward observer in the military, so gave him the information, the maps and stuff, and he did all these overlays, and he come out and we found that Bingley camp.
Okay.
But later, knowing where the Bingley camp is, we went on the ridge up above it to the east and parked our four-wheelers on the four-wheeler road, and we get out the Dune's Locktron, and we start taking shots. And we take shots and we take shots, and we're only maybe walked a half a mile only. And Milt says, "What is that up there ahead of us? Is that our four-wheelers?" And I said, "Dude, there's no way that's our four-wheelers. Somebody else's four-wheelers, but not ours." We go get a little closer, and sure enough, that's our four-wheelers. Now, I've been in the mountains my whole life, and not that I can't walk in a circle and not know it, but in a half mile,
Yeah, see? Yeah.
and if I'd have walked in a circle, I would have crossed back over that four-wheeler road.
Yeah.
And I would have seen that.
Yeah.
I'm not going to walk over a four-wheeler trail and not see it. And there's our four-wheelers. And I would have had to walk across that trail to see it. And we're just baffled. We're scratching our head and don't know what. We just played it off that we walked in a circle. Common sense, we must have walked in a circle. I didn't believe it for a second. Well, so we start taking another shot across there, and we get a little bit farther than what we had gotten originally. At this point, we can see where we've been there, our tracks and stuff, where we had been through there. Now, this gets really strange. We come to a place where we come up over this little hill, and we come down the other side to a flat valley, and then another little hill on the other side. But when we came over that first little hill, there was a stump and a tree that had broke off of it laying there, and the bark had just gotten off of it. So it was shining in the sun really bright. Well, so we stop there and we take a break and we have a sandwich. And so after our break, we get up and we start walking across that little flat valley. And this is really weird. And I'd already felt like we had been moved once already, and I didn't believe for a second that I'd walked in a circle. And we started making hash marks in the dirt, going across that flat valley, taking a shot, making a hash mark, like I do when I run that. And we're going right towards the biggest quaky tree over there, and we're going headed right for it. We come up the other side of that rise and another little hill like we had just come up to get to that flat valley. Go up it, come down the other side, and what's there? That stump with that tree falling over there. Oh my God, now I'm just, it's freaking me out. I'm like, what in the heck had just happened here? So I thought maybe I could walk backwards through whatever vortex or whatever, however moved us. I started walking backwards down the other side of that hill. Well, I get back down to that flat valley, look back over, and that tree's not there. That tree's not there. I'm on this side of that flat valley now. And I'd walked across it. So I says, Melt, let's go over there and see if we can find our hash marks that we'd put in the ground. Now that we're back at the stump, them hash marks surely are out there in that dirt. Not a hash mark one, not a print one. And I zigzagged that in there looking for hash marks and footprints, and they were not there. And I had walked across there and put hash marks. I know, it's just a little area, you know. So I told Mel, let's go. Let's just go. So we walked right straight back to our four-wheelers, got on our four-wheelers, went back to Soapstone Basin to camp, and camped out that night. The next morning we get up and Melt's four-wheeler won't start. Tried to jump it, tried to figure out what was wrong with it. It just wouldn't start. So I told him, I says, you stay here and see if you can get your four-wheeler going. I'm going to go back in there and look again. So I go back in there, and instead of being on the ridge, I take a little four-wheeler trail down alongside the hill. And when I'm going down that four-wheeler trail, which ended at a big slab of rock, but going in there, there was this beautiful pond off to the left. And it had some lily pads grow in it, and had some nice little yellow flowers growing up in it. And God, it was just beautiful. Way out in the mountains in this meadow. So I get down there and I park my four-wheeler down the rocks, and I'm trying to continue that line that I'm shooting. So I'm trying to get over there farther so I don't have so far to walk to get to where we were before. And I start taking a shot, and it seems to me I'm on that same line. So I start shooting that line across there. And I mean, I'm shooting it away from my four-wheeler, and about 10 minutes goes by, and I see this pond down over to the left down there, and it's got some lily pads growing in it with yellow flowers. I'm like, yeah, that's pretty common up there to see that, right? I mean, there's a lot of them up there. So I says, just out of curiosity, I'm going to walk over there because of what's been happening the other day. So I go walking over there, and I come across a four-wheeler trail, and my four-wheeler tracks are in that trail. So I walk down the trail over there, and there's that slab of rock in my four-wheeler. And I'm like, son of a gun, man. I says, so that's number 3. Got on my four-wheeler, went back to camp, told Melt what had happened, and I never went back. I never went back after that. I mean, there's no sense of going back if you can't get there. And whatever forces are out there messing with our lives did not want me to find that Bingley.
Do you think it was a portal, or do you think it was a what do you think? How did you feel when that happened?
I felt strange. I felt like I didn't know what was going on, and I hadn't missed any time. I had not missed any time at all. But I was moved. I was transported from one spot to another, I'll guarantee it. And I didn't realize, I didn't know what had happened. I didn't feel anything had happened until I seen my four-wheeler up there in that pond with lily pads, or when we come up on our four-wheelers or the stump or nothing. I didn't feel like anything that I had been moved, or I went through a portal or some type of time continuum or anything like that. But I never went back.
So it seems like there was like a force not letting you get somewhere.
Right.
Where you were something is keeping you from something.
Oh, I felt like I was going crazy. Much time as I've spent my whole life in the mountains. And now you get turned around once in a while, but you don't, when you walk in a circle, you've walked in a circle. I just got moved back. Well,
you can track your own tracks. I mean, but if you can't even find your tracks, how you
So I wasn't there. So it moved me back.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it moved me back before I ever made them tracks. Me and Melt both. Somehow it moved us in time to where we hadn't actually even been there.
But you didn't feel like there was any time differential.
There wasn't. I hadn't lost any time at all.
So that makes it very interesting.
Yeah, I hadn't lost we hadn't lost a minute one. I just know that was really strange, and I never went. Now there's somebody up there mining. They put a $3 million road in up there. You remember that road?
Yeah.
I mean, that thing, you can take a Cadillac up it now. Remember how bad it was on the wheelers? Big ledges and stuff in the road.
Yeah.
Washouts, and you should see that road today, Terry. Packed down heavy. He was packed down heavy. And Greg was carrying this box with him, and some type of detector or something. And man, he had another one over his strap. He had a backpack on, and he's young, and man, he's tough. He can really pack the gear. And I took him back in there off trail. When I found that shaft, when I come out of there was an old horseshoe laying on the trail right where I came out. So I took that horseshoe and I set that horseshoe up at the base of the tree, and I put some rocks around it to hold it there. So next time I came there to find this shaft, all I had to do was look for that horseshoe. So I don't remember if it was Tracy or the other brother that we're walking down the trail, and he's up ahead of us, and we're all looking for this horseshoe, and he finds it. I'm like, it's still there. That's awesome. That was like a couple years ago I put that horseshoe there. I figured the snow and all the erosion and stuff would have moved that horseshoe, and I wouldn't have been able to find it. But he found it, and it was still laying up against the tree with the rocks I put around it, still right there in place. And I said, all right, we're here. And I said, that shaft is just right back in there. It was on a little roundy hill, just, I mean, not but that high, just a little roundy little hill, and that shaft went right in right there. I walked right straight back over there to where that shaft was supposed to be, and it was not there. I mean, there was no sign of any dirt being disturbed or anybody filling it or nothing like that. It was just not there. It was gone. And I told them guys, sorry, man. I don't know. I don't know what happened to it. And still to this day, I don't know what happened to it. Kind of like that story I told you about being displaced. Kind of reminded me of that. Like, it didn't want you to find it.